Reinvention is such a powerful idea and concept in a lot of different ways because reinvention is actually an essential part of being relevant.
Yes.
And that relevancy, the ongoing energy behind upgrading yourself, upgrading your identity, stepping into your creative gifts, evolving over time because maybe you're bored or feeling a little meh, right? Those things are essential to your business success.
Welcome to Glow Up Boss, the business school for beauty entrepreneurs. Having trained over 8,000 women to build and run profitable beauty businesses, I'm here to share knowledge and skills to put you on the fast track to grow your business and glow up your life. I'm your host, Veronique Munro. With 20 years experience as a product developer, celebrity spray tan artist, and founder of multiple sunless tanning companies, I've launched products and methods that have become today's industry standard. This podcast is where you will learn what you need to build your business from the ground up. You'll hear from industry experts on how to build a thriving customer base, grow revenue, buy back your time, and create the freedom to live life on your terms. It's time to discover the boss within you. Get ready to glow up. Welcome to Glow Up Boss, the podcast that's not only a business school for women in the beauty industry, but it's a platform that not only helps you grow your business, but actually helps you glow up your life. So I'm sitting here pondering this idea of reinvention. Being in a season for a period of years or a decade or several decades where you build an identity for yourself, where you are a hairdresser, a lash artist, an entrepreneur, a writer, a computer scientist, a God only knows what. And one day you wake up and you're not fulfilled anymore. You don't know why, but you're hitting burnout. You're just not excited when you sit down to do your work. And next thing you know, you're in procrastination mode. And why? You don't know why. Well, that might just be a hint that you are ready for a big reinvention. So I'm sitting here today with the Queen of Reinvention herself by the name of Tracy Matthews. Not only is she the Queen of Reinvention, but she is a stellar entrepreneur. She's a business leader. She's a business mentor. She is a badass with a capital B. Tracy Matthews, welcome to Glow Up Boss.
That was such an awesome intro in all ways, shapes, and forms. I'm like little giggling on the inside. Thanks for having me, Veronique.
Thanks for coming back. This is our second time recording together.
It sure is. Thanks for having me back because I'm in a different season than when we recorded the first episode.
Oh my God. You're like totally reinvented. I almost didn't recognize you when you walked into the studio.
Do I look different?
You look so different. You're like glowing. You're like a whole other level of Glow Up Boss. So Tracy, I'm so excited to have you back on the show. I know we haven't dropped the last episode because we were waiting to slot it into the right space, but it's really funny how these things work out. I really believe that things happen in their own timing. And I believe now, as I sit here and speak with you, that the reinvention episode really needed to be birthed before the last episode that we recorded. So this is like divine timing.
I'm so grateful to talk about this. It's going to be fun.
I'm so grateful. I'm literally like we were talking about the pivot. I told you, I think I've been pivoting through my entire life. I've reincarnated my personal brand, my personal self, my business so many times. And I'm even in the process of it now, even with this podcast, Glow Up Boss.
Yes.
I've always been the person, behind the camera, behind the mic, not in front of the camera, in front of the mic, not the one out there. So I'm in the process of reinvention. And it never even occurred to me that there was such a thing as reinvention. You just reinvented yourself.
Exactly. Reinvention is such a powerful idea and concept in a lot of different ways because reinvention is actually an essential part of being relevant.
Yes.
And that relevancy, the ongoing energy behind upgrading yourself, upgrading your identity, stepping into your creative gifts, evolving over time because maybe you're bored or feeling a little meh, right? Those things are essential to your business success.
Yeah, totally. Well, where I'm sitting here, I work with a lot of women in business, in the beauty business specifically, whether they're spray tan artists or hairdressers or SDs or just starting their own salons or even launching their own line of products or now courses and even podcasts and all these amazing things. But one of the things that I've discovered with a lot of these women is they have an idea, but they don't know how to go about executing it. You know, their mindset, they're working on their mindset, but they haven't looked at the strategy, or they're working on the strategy and they haven't done the work around mindset. And I sense through communications that we've had and things I've read about you is you've found a way to bridge that gap, to bring all of those things together in a really highly systematized way with an almost like step 1, step 2, step 3, you're ready to launch strategy. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes. Okay. So something about me that many people don't know, and maybe if you've been in my world for a while, you've experienced this. I am someone who is an amazing from idea to execution, move fast person. Like I have an idea and before I even hang up the phone, I'm like tasking my team and getting things going because I feel like good ideas are only as good as the execution of the idea. So if it's just an idea that's sitting around or a dream or a vision of something that you want to create, or just this calling or feeling that you're here for something more and you don't do anything with it, well, it's always going to stay a dream. And then you're missing out on revenue, you're missing out on impact, you're missing out on opportunity, you're missing out on basically the legacy that you're here to leave. And whether your legacy is just, you know, being a good role model to your children, or your legacy is to, you know, impact the world in some significant way.
Yeah.
Reinvention is so important. But ideas, just for ideas' sake, don't really take you anywhere. And for as a, you know, idea generator, I'm a generator in human design, and I feel like I'm an idea generator. I have so many ideas that I always want to bring out into the world. And anytime that something has really been calling on my heart and I've ignored the call, it literally put me into a spiral or a depression or something where I just felt so unsatisfied. So I had to figure out a way for myself to navigate, like, number one, first filter through like which are the ideas that you actually want to move forward, which of them have legs. Number two, which of these ideas am I naturally suited for, like that my gifts align with? Like, is this a good idea for me to move forward or not? And then also to be able to move those forward by creating a vision, by really getting into an action plan and all of those things. And so the 3-step process that I created starts with having clarity around what you're doing. And the clarity starts with really identifying and clarifying your genius, your true genius, the thing that is so easy for you to do that you shouldn't get paid for it. And you feel guilty for getting paid for it, right? And then taking that genius and creating a vision for where you're going. Because a lot of people have ideas, but how do you align the idea with the genius and turn that into something that is big enough to motivate you and the people behind you and your community, whatever it might be, to move that thing forward? And then once we have this clear vision and we're dreaming big and we feel completely inspired by it, this is where a lot of people stop.
Yeah.
They're like, I got this thing and I want to do it. And then they sit there and they're like, okay.
Now you got to do the work.
Yeah. Okay, I want to do this thing, but how do I do it? Like, how do you move it forward? And so then the second step of this is really about creation.
Yeah.
And in the creation phase, this is where you have to turn your vision, your ideas, like all these things, into offers that can be sold. And one thing that I see, and you know, you have a product line, so you understand this, you do private label, you do a lot of different things in the sunless tanning industry. You have a product suite, which I would call a brand journey, right? So you have different things that can be sold and in different ways, right? So what most people stop at is they have an idea for like one offer, but for a lot of people, that might be enough to start, but it's actually being a little bit too, and I don't know if I'm using this word right, but a little bit too myopic. It's too close to what it is. What we want to think is like, what is the whole journey that someone's going through with your brand? Where do they start? How can they get a little taste of your world? And then how do you bring them along that journey to continue escalating forward with what it is you have to offer? So for you, for example, you could probably speak to this a little bit better than me. Maybe you have your sunless tanning spray, but then you have a lotion that keeps the tan on longer. I don't know. What is your offer suite?
Okay.
You tell me.
So Depends what we're looking at. Are we looking at Infinity Sun, the brand, or are we looking at my contract manufacturing business?
You pick one. You tell me.
Let's do the simple one.
Yes.
Let's go with Infinity Sun, the sunless tanning brand. So in general, we're a business to business brand. So we would meet with entrepreneurs looking to start their own spray tanning businesses. We would find out, are they the type of person that wants to be set apart from the competition?
Exactly.
Do they want a piece of equipment that's state of the art, that's different than anything else out there? Do they want to be different? If they do, the conversation continues. If they want to be another Me Too spray tan artist using a cup and gun, Infinity Sun, the brand, the B2B side of the brand is probably not going to be for them at the upper echelon. So it would be the machine. It would then be the best quality solutions that bring together high-end skincare with sunless tanning to deliver like the optimal sunless tanning experience. Retail, preparation and aftercare products to ensure the skin is properly
100%.
prepared for the service and that they can take home with them to care for their tan afterward. Training.
Yes.
Making sure they know how to, 1, educate their customer, 2, apply the sunless tan, do the service, how to grow their customer base. So business mentorship, marketing, providing marketing collateral material. So it's like a business in a box.
Exactly.
That's the offer.
That's amazing. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, because most people stop at like, I got a sunless tanning machine and some spray to put into it. That's not where we're going with this, right? When you have a big vision, you need to think beyond the next step. You need to think really big, like, where is this going? So then from there, you would take that and create your brand journey around that. So that's the messaging, that's the marketing, that's the clarity on how you're going to be communicating this with your audience and how you're going to be sharing this with the world, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's all great when you have that, but nothing happens if you don't take action. And so the final step is cultivation. And this is where we get visibility for what we're doing. We have a launch plan and a way to actually execute and bring our idea to market. And I think that most people stop and they get stuck because they have a big idea, they have a dream, they have something that's calling on their heart, a passion, whatever it might be, but they don't know where to start with it to get it going forward. Yeah. Especially if they're already encapsulated or kind of in it, right? Yeah. Like maybe they have another business that's doing great and they don't know how to branch off another arm, or maybe they're feeling burnout by their existing business, or maybe they're in corporate and they have this dream that they want to launch a product line or something like that and get it to market, but they don't know where to start. And so this is really an amazing 3-step process, the clarity, creation, and cultivation process for people who are ready to move quickly and get their idea to market very fast.
I'm going to hit pause on you for a second.
Yes.
Okay. So I see a lot of this situation where we have a business professional who's buried in operations.
Yes.
They're buried in their business and they have other ideas. They're sparks that never get to become a flame because they're so buried in the mishigas of their day-to-day lives. What do you tell these women?
Well, they probably need some support. They need better systems. They need structure behind their business. They probably need, we talked about AI in the last interview, but they need automation and AI in their business so that things can work that don't require them. I see this a lot too. And I've been there and it's the worst, especially if you're creative and you're more a visionary type. It is so hard. It is the most draining thing to be completely stuck in the day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
And it's not something that most people who are creative and are leaders in an industry actually really thrive in.
Yeah.
And so if you're there, I think the first step, this is what I would do and I have done in my business. The first step is figure out the things that are draining you the most and get those off your plate as soon as you possibly can. Anything that can be automated, delegated, or deleted, do that first. A lot of times we get busy with stuff that's not even important. Get it off your plate.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be done. Then I would think about like, how can I get the same result with I'm going to say this in a weird way, but like with the least amount of work.
Yep.
Because I think we like to create busy work for ourselves to make us feel important. Like this business cannot survive without me.
Right.
But what if you just stop doing some things and see what would happen if you stop doing them? Are they really important to do? Right. My partner Jason says this all the time. He's like, what if you could just stop doing like half the things in your business and just see what would happen? Maybe it wouldn't fall apart and you wouldn't need to do that. And then the most important piece is that if something is really craving or calling you on your heart, you're ready to move forward, you're like, I'm in it. This is my mission. I got to do this. Or even if it's not that big of an energy, like it's just something that's exciting to you. Create time and space in your calendar to work on it and mark it off on your calendar to work on it. Like maybe it's a Wednesday from like 12 to 4. Dedicated time to think and work through a project.
Glow Up Boss podcast is brought to you today by Infinity Sun. Are you an entrepreneur thinking that you'd like to start a new business that's fun, that doesn't cost a lot of money to start up, that you could do in the evenings and weekends and earn lots and lots of money? Starting a spray tanning business definitely checks off all those boxes. With state-of-the-art plug-and-spray proprietary spray tanning systems that require only one solution, you can literally choose 30 different levels of spray on the spray tanning system itself. Infinity Sun offers sunless tanning solutions that combine high-end skincare together with sunless tanning technology to not only create the most flawless looking tans, but also to improve the condition of the skin. So what about companies that have been established for a very long time? When they launched, they were fresh. Then technology changes.
Right.
Then everything changes.
Right.
What was cool is now old.
Exactly.
It's not fresh. It's not trending. It's not happening anymore. What do you tell these people?
That's a great question because I think this is happening a lot right now in particular.
Because everything's moving so fast.
Everything is moving so fast.
Yeah.
A lot of things are obsolete now.
Yeah.
It's basically like even like the way programs and coaching and all these things are delivered in so many different markets, how products are delivered, everything's changing so quickly.
Yeah.
This is where creativity and innovation get to shine because you get to rethink how you're delivering whatever it is that you're delivering. So if it's a physical product, like, is there a way that you can innovate and deliver the product in a different way or create new products that capture a new type of market? If you're in a service professional or you're a service professional or in a service-based business type of thing, maybe there's a different offering that you can offer your clients that make it more exciting for them or package your genius in a different way.
Right.
If you have a coaching business or a course or consulting business like I do, one of the things that we're doing is just restructuring our offers because we know like our offers are amazing. They're so great. But and it's not that they've necessarily run their course. It's just that they need to be packaged up in a different way to build excitement again about their transformation that they provide. And so this is a great opportunity. I know that there's this collective energy in the world going on right now where it feels very heavy in a certain point. And I was just listening to an astrologer. I don't know when this is going to go live, but I was just listening to an astrologer saying that there's some square trine. I don't know exactly what in the astrological stars. And it's going to like within like 6 weeks from the time that they're recording this, everyone's life is going to be so different and completely transformed. And for some people that might feel scary, but I think it's a really exciting time because it's an opportunity for us to like really step in to like who we're supposed to be. It's like there's been this really heavy energy collectively, I think, around all of us since COVID. And like, we're all ready to feel free and to feel liberated and to feel excited and ignited again about the things that we're doing. Yeah,
definitely. It's so funny you mentioned this because I actually just finished recording an episode with Jennifer Stone.
Oh, fun.
And we talked about Chinese astrology and Bazi.
You did?
We did, yeah. So
I know a little bit about all of it. I don't know a lot about any of it.
That's going to be coming up, And it's this whole theme about the weighty, the heavy energy, and then the change and the things are getting lighter and much, transforming. But the thing about like the refreshing, the things moving really quickly, it's very expensive.
It can be. Yes.
Well, it is when you're dealing with a physical product-based business where you have minimum quantities. So doing constant brand refreshes.
So how are you doing it?
We don't. We really don't. I mean, we probably should do a lot more. We've probably undergone maybe 3 major transformations since I started the business. And, I'm talking about, $500,000 every time you do it.
Significant. Exactly.
It's not a cheap it's not a cheap refresh. So, one has to consider now looking at the newer technologies and how to incorporate those things, because I don't think it's supposed to be as expensive anymore to do it.
Yes, exactly. And it really depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And there's so many different options. I started my career in the jewelry industry, and the way even jewelry is made these days, it's so different. Before, everything needed to be made by hand. That was the only way.
Yeah.
And now there's like 3D printers that can print out a piece of jewelry for you. It's created.
Oh, for us, it's the same. I mean, we have parts that we used to send out that we actually make on 3D printers, a lot of them now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a huge innovation.
Yeah,
and now,
totally.
lab created diamonds, whatever your feelings are about those. I have my feelings. I'll keep them to myself. But, they're great for some things.
Yeah.
But also, it's an innovation product that has like completely disrupted the diamond industry. And like natural diamonds now have such lower value than they used to because of it. So regardless of the industry you're in, things are always going to come in and disrupt. But this is your opportunity to be the disruptor in your industry, to pick up on the change, to ride the wave, and to step into your next chapter of whatever that looks like. And if there's a big expense, do research and think through, or get some consulting, work with someone who can help support you in thinking outside of the box. Because I think this happens to any entrepreneur. I'm here talking about reinvention. I have a new program coming out to support people in their reinvention phases. And I also need someone to help me through my own reinvention because there's a lot of things that I can't see. And so I've leaned on support. So make sure that you get the support that you need. Have a mentor, have a guide, work with me if that feels aligned, because someone who can see what you can't see, there's sometimes so much more clarity beyond where you can go. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. And it's difficult to know who to work with on different things because, there are a lot of people out there that do things, but maybe don't have all the years of experience or maybe someone who's been, in the trenches for a very long time, that's maybe not as familiar with like the latest, quicker, different, better ways to do things either. So it's kind of it's hard to know, depending on what you do. It's
really interesting that you say that, because there are, I think when everyone lost their jobs in 2020, everyone became a coach.
Yeah.
and it's funny to me that everyone just thinks they can be a coach because they did something. And it's fascinating because for the first time ever in the history of my business, I started having these competitors, and I looked at them and I was like, I'm all to anyone who wants to go out and start their own business.
Yeah.
But for me, I would always want to be working with someone who was 20 steps ahead of where I had been.
Totally.
And so if someone had only built like a very small business, like only sold like $50,000 worth of jewelry ever, or like 100,000 max in a year, why would anyone, even if you just wanted to get to $100,000 of revenue, want to work with someone like that? Because they can only show you how to get there. They can't show you what's beyond that.
Totally.
And so I think when you're selecting someone to work with, if you want to hire a coach or work with someone who's going to support you on your business journey, just make sure that they've done more than what you have.
I know there were a lot of people out there, like especially at the beginning of COVID, that were saying, well, if you're just like 1 or 2 steps ahead of someone, you can be a coach. You can do a course. There's always someone who's going to know less than you, so you can capitalize on that. That was the thing, right?
That is the thing. I still hear it today. It's kind of funny.
So, it just depends what you want, right?
Exactly.
And you have to start somewhere.
You do.
Right?
It's true.
So I have a thing, about experts, positioning yourself as an expert. And there are a lot of people out there teaching people how to position themselves as experts when they're not experts. How do you navigate that, doing what you do in the reinvention world?
Well, I think you can be an expert depending on what it is that you're a genius at.
Okay.
But I think as far as where you're stretching, can you clarify a little bit more about what you mean by this expertise
thing? There's imposter syndrome and there is being an imposter. I'm just going to say it.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
I'm just throwing down the gauntlet on this one. Okay.
Imposter syndrome versus being an imposter. Well, I don't really know what I feel about that, but you're right. There are a lot of people out there who are scam artists. And it's the sad part about this is that I feel as though a lot of people have been burned. people are more cautious about who they trust.
Yeah.
Which you should be cautious. But
Right.
I truly believe in like, trust your gut. Like you're going to know if you meet someone who is like the right fit for you. Right. And it's unfortunate.
Well, what I'm alluding to also is like somebody who's looking to reinvent themselves and they want to position themselves as an expert, and maybe they don't have that level of expertise. So when I say
Okay, got it.
There's imposter syndrome and there's people that are, and they're confused. I mean, there's a lot of mixed messages out there where
Yes.
maybe someone isn't the expert and they're being told that they don't feel like they're the expert because they have imposter syndrome. So they're being convinced that they're an expert and what they're suffering is imposter syndrome and they need to get past that.
But they really don't have
But
the
they really
expertise.
don't have the expertise. I've seen that more often than I care to admit, truly.
That's fascinating. Yes. I mean, I don't hang in those circles, so I don't totally know.
Well,
But I feel like this is similar to what I was talking about earlier, though.
I see that a lot in the cottage industries.
Let me take you back to what we were talking about before.
Okay.
Like, for instance, like someone who's only grown their business to a certain extent and they're
Yes.
saying like, I can help you grow a 6-figure business or something like that.
Yeah.
To me, that's such a smaller goal. And it's not
Yes.
really like the end goal for like, I'm not attracted to that at all.
Yeah.
The way that I look at it is like, has that person really done that?
Right.
Right. And then the other step of it, it's like, you know, you'll know by what the kind of information they're sharing and like
Yeah.
how they're showing up in the world
Yeah.
if they're really an imposter, because
Okay.
you're going to know when you interact with them. You're going to know. I mean, I'm very intuitive, so I can tell.
Okay.
You know, it's like sometimes when people have come on the scene and saying that they're doing X, Y, and Z, you know who's legit.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really freaking fascinating how many people have built all of a sudden magically $10 million businesses in 1 year, and all of a sudden are like, they are having like $7 million months. Like, I feel
the power of marketing.
I'm like, it's fascinating to me, like how many women are stating that they're doing this.
Oh,
So you don't really know.
It's snake oil salesmen all over.
And I'm kind of going like in a little bit of a roundabout way here, because my ads person, I'm like, well, this person, X, Y, and Z, and they're like, I've seen the back ends of their sites. They have not done that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And she's like, they're stretching the truth in order to get,
Yeah.
you know, people to buy from them.
It's just perception is what it is.
It's unfortunate. Like, I think these massive claims of massive income, it's really interesting because the people that I do know who have done, you know, sold hundreds of millions of dollars in their business or had a $20 million year, they don't really talk about it that much. They're like behind the radar.
You don't want to, because you don't want the people that would want to know that to take some of it to know.
Exactly. No, it's fascinating because you
like-
rarely hear that.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, my mentor, Marie Forleo, she was one of the OGs, like my original mentor who got me into this online space and helped me during one of my biggest pivots, which was pivoting into coaching from being a very successful jewelry business owner. And I know, because I've done like reverse calculation of like the number of students in her program and how much the program costs, like how much she's made during like certain launches.
Yeah.
She never, ever talks about it. And she's very under the radar and very inspiring and all the things to these people who are just starting out to build their, you know, startups or whatever in the coaching world. And it's a very different vibe from people who are making claims like, I have a $10 million business and this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, I'm not here to shame anyone, that everyone can do their own thing.
Totally. But I think
I feel like that's part of what you're talking about too.
There has to be a level of authenticity, I think, in these repositionings and these reimaginings and these pivots.
100%. I definitely do. And, you know, for someone, authenticity is like my number one thing. And also integrity. Like being in alignment. And I feel like integrity really steps into alignment with your messaging, alignment with where you are, alignment with what you say you do, and all the things. You know, I will tell you, pivoting a business can feel very stressful because sometimes you have to go backwards in order to move forwards. And there is this feeling sometimes around it of like feeling a little bit like, who am I to be doing this? Like the imposter syndrome stuff comes up, or like, what will people think? Or I'm letting people down. Like there's all these things. Like I've been through it more than once. Like,
Same.
And you feel bad about it, but there is something natural that you have to do if you're in the process of pivoting and you're literally being like getting smacked upside the head by the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, saying, you must move in this new direction. If you avoid the call, it's going to keep getting harder. So listen to the call, move forward, go through the hard stuff, because on the other side of that, that's where the genius is. That's where the brilliance is. That's where
I like that.
The juice is.
So imagine a person who's starting to feel like maybe they need to change, but the truth is they're struggling in their business. So how do you know when it's time to pivot, time to reinvent versus maybe you're just going through a challenging time in your business that you need to overcome?
So the first question I would ask that person and ask them to talk about for themselves is, are you excited and passionate about what you're doing still? Because that is the clear indicator. Like if the passion's there and the desire and you love it all and you're just going through a season of challenge, that's different than not feeling excited about it, keeping it going because that's what you know, and doing like that feels a little bit heavier, right? Like you're trudging it along.
Yes.
So the first question is like, what's your excitement level? Like, are you still passionate about that? And if that's the case, then get a business coach who can help you with the problems, the specific problems that you are having inside the business. If it's operations, if it's sales, if it's marketing, like,
so you have to be a psychologist to a certain degree too. When you get people who apply to your course, right? You probably have to try to understand, where they are and, whether it's just really them needing a coach to help them in their current business, or if it is really time for them to like move out of that and move into something else.
It's a fine line. There's a little bit of a crossover because, for instance, this one woman that I'm going to be coaching, she's been a corporate speaker for a very long time. She's got a great brand and a great business, but she wants to expand her offers to do, instead of doing one-to-one and having to speak only to make money, to be able to do something one-to-many. And when we were talking, I'm like, this is kind of like a restructuring of her existing business, because she loves what she does, but expanding beyond where the current offer is. And so that's a little bit of that's kind of like a reinvention of like what's inside the business versus someone who's completely restructuring and starting a new thing. I would say they're all kind of on this journey. And you asked something about like, you have to be a psychologist to know. I mean, I've been a coach and I'm very intuitive for 13 years. And one of the things that I know is I can tell if someone's serious about moving forward. And anyone who's serious and passionate and motivated to move forward, who's reaching out to someone like me, is reaching out to someone like me because they know I'm going to catalyze them and I'm going to put a fire under their ass. I hope I can say that to move them forward.
Authentic.
Yeah. Fire under their ass to move them forward.
Authentic fire.
Yeah. So I am not a trained psychologist, but I do a lot of mindset work and I am a very good coach and I'm very good at identifying where the hiccups are, the hangups are, and how to move forward in a better direction.
Well, that's the thing that I noticed, because remember, what I do for a living is I work with a lot of women that had other professions before they went into spray tanning. I don't only work with like the young 20-something-year-olds. I work with attorneys. I work with accountants. I work with women that have been in other professions that want to find a way to create a life for themselves where they're not a slave to what they do for a living, where they can make their own hours and do something fun. There are thousands of homeless dogs in the pounds and shelters and running all over the streets, and not enough people out there to help them. Sprays for Strays is a fundraising organization that raises money through the sunless tanning and beauty industry to help all the rescues all over the United States of America pull the dogs out of the pounds and shelters, get them vetted, get their vaccinations, get them spayed and neutered, help with any sort of behavioral issues, and help to get them into their forever homes. Go to spraysforstrays.com and become a member or donate. Every little bit of support helps. Thank you to our sponsor, Sprays for Strays, for helping to save the lives of dogs, one spray tan at a time.
Yes.
You're
something
not sitting and writing contracts, you're tanning people and meeting people and having amazing conversations. So I know that sometimes when they're calling about a machine, for example, like tell me about your technology, that's not really what they want to know. What they want to know is running a spray tanning business right for me? And I don't know the answer to that because I don't know them yet. So I want to know more about them. What kind of law have you've been practicing? Why are you thinking you want to change? Do you want to do this in the evenings and the weekends? What do you see? What's the perfect vision? I mean, if you weren't being judged by your family and friends for this big change, from a prestigious profession to being a spray tan artist, if you put all of that aside and you painted a picture of what this new life would look like for you, what would it look like? How would it feel in your body?
That is the exact question I ask people.
Right?
It's the exact same thing. I've been doing this for one of my pivots in business. We didn't talk about this on this episode. We may have talked about it on the other episode. I built a really successful jewelry company, and my products were in 350 stores around the world. I had just landed a gig on QVC. Like I thought, it's like expansion. I was in a little bit of a stage of like kind of feeling like, okay, what's next for me? I don't know. I was getting a little bit burnt out. And then all of a sudden 2008 happened, and the bankruptcy notices, I had shipped all this jewelry to these stores, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Bankruptcy notices start rolling in. And I'm like, I really was in a season of like, oh my gosh, what's next? Because I don't know what's going to happen with this business. And I had 1 month that was like the biggest month that I'd ever had. And then the next year, the same month, I had like the lowest sales that I'd ever had. And it was during like the busiest time of the year. And so it really forced me to get, because I was getting to this phase of burnout, it really forced me to take a look at like, how do I want to feel? What is my life supposed to look like? How can I design something that is going to support the energy, the vibe, the freedom that I wanted to have in my life? And that step that you just talked about is the most important exercise that anyone can do. And what I found is so many people can't see it. They know that they're unhappy. They know that whatever they're doing is not really lighting them up or inspiring them, but they can't see beyond their existence now. And so it's hard for them to see this vision of what it could be. Right? And that's the most important part.
Yeah. If you spent a lot of years building your business and standing at the top of it, you're on the throne and looking at all your employees and your brand and your customers, and you're thinking of just like throwing in the towel and starting something new. That's pretty daunting.
It is. It is daunting. And it could be so freaking exciting.
Right.
But you don't have to just throw in the towel and start something new. Like if you have a great business. So I've found is that when people are kind of feeling meh about their business, and I use the term meh because it's like, it's not that they dislike their business. Their business is fine. It's going. They're successful. It's been rolling, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they have someone, it doesn't need them as much anymore. Hopefully it's different than the stage you were talking about earlier in the podcast episode.
Yeah.
Maybe they just need a new creative project, an outlet. And sometimes that's launching a new arm of your business, developing a new product. Exactly, right? Developing a new product, having something that feels exciting for them again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean burning your business down.
Yeah.
It means, okay, this is good. I'm going to keep an eye on it, but it doesn't need me right now.
Yeah.
Instead of messing things up inside of this business and like finding new projects there, like why don't I just focus my creative energy on something else that if it's a new business or even if it's another type of creative outlet.
Yeah.
If I can just do that, then I can feel inspired again and then get excited about my business again.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing that most people are really craving is this feeling of feeling creative and turned on and excited and passionate about what they're doing. And the second that feels heavy, or you're operating out of lack mindset, or you're feeling like this is impossible, that's when things start to get challenging. Well, this is exciting.
I know. So I love the idea of your program. So how can people work with you? How can they find your program?
Yeah. So I'm launching my new program, The Art of Reinvention.
Okay.
It is for women who are asking what's next and they're ready for their next big move. It is not for people. It's not a program. Let me explain it like this. It is not a program that's just going to leave you with a bunch of ideas and then leave you hanging. It is actually a very action-oriented program. mastermind style execution where I'm going to walk you through the 3 phases of my reinvention process so that you can have clarity for where you're going, so that you can create your profitable offer suite and then walk away with action steps so that you can make what your dream or this next vision of what you have a reality for you. It will no longer be just a dream.
I love that. Do you have like a certain type of woman so everyone has a client avatar. Who's your client avatar for this program?
Thank you so much for asking. It is for 3 specific types of people. So it might be for someone who is in a season of burnout and they know that they've had this big idea or calling or something that's on their heart that they're ready to launch, and they're ready to just move forward and move their business in a new direction and bring their existing audience along the way.
Okay.
The second avatar is for people who have an existing business. It's successful, it's thriving, but they're kind of in that stage of feeling like, I'm a little bored. So either I'm going to mix this thing up or, I have this idea for this new project that I want to get started. And, I keep reverting back to what I know. So for those people, this is like the container. Okay, let's ideate and like make this thing happen. And then the third avatar are women who are feeling called to something more. They've probably spent most of their life in corporate. I call them corporate leaders. They've made a name for themselves in the corporate industry, but they're ready for a change. They're ready to really follow their passion. They're in a later season in life and they want to do something that feels inspiring and exciting I won't say their retirement necessarily, but in their later season of life.
Right.
And they're just ready to go.
Awesome.
Yes.
I love that. Okay. So at the end of all my episodes, I have 3 action items that I have my guests give the listeners to maybe start moving things forward. So in the spirit of this episode, for any of our listeners out there who are contemplating pivoting something in their life, contemplating reinvention, what are the 3 things that you would have them do to move a little bit closer to making that decision?
Great question. So the first thing that I would do is I would clarify what is calling you forward. So this might be a new creative idea, some sort of creative spark. You don't have to have anything completely identified yet.
Okay.
But just clarify what that is. The second thing that I want you to ask yourself, and this is a tough question, and we didn't really cover it on this episode. What is the cost of you not taking action?
Okay.
And what I mean by this is that typically we have unintended consequences that happen when we are not aligned with where we're going in our life and our business. In our careers, our businesses are a huge part of what we do, what we're here for, right? For a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so what's the cost? Is it causing stress on your relationship? Are you having financial hardship because of it? Is it causing you, your hair to fall out? Like I knew that when I was in a pivot once, that was actually a real side effect of me not following my dream. So get very clear on what that is for you. And for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because when you're out of alignment, it has unintended consequences that affect your life in other ways. So start to list those things out. And then the third thing that I would say to do is to create some space to start thinking about what your next move is. And I mean, the third and half step is to come and check out my program and come talk to me a little bit if you're feeling like you're in this phase, because maybe it's right for you, maybe it's not, but I'd love to just kind of help you get some of that clarity. But the biggest needle mover for me, and I started doing this about 5 or 6 years ago, was I use Wednesdays as my day, but Wednesdays, at least 4 hours of open space for me to work on new projects and ideas. So create that space for yourself and start digging in.
I love it. Well, Tracy, thank you so much for joining me once again on Glow Up Boss. This has been the most riveting conversation, and I'm literally like wondering what can I like pivot to at this point. So thank you for that. We'll definitely have to talk more about my next reinvention.
I love that. Thank you so much for having me again. What a great time.
Bye.